Welcome, everybody, to another Microsoft Unboxed POD. This is Kareem. I'm your host today, and I'm joined by.
David, I hope everybody's doing well for this Friday. Let's see, we're at April the 11th, so Easter's next week too.
Yeah, so we're going to get you guys some news, get you educated and informed, and then you guys can go out and enjoy. I believe it's, what is the Jewish holiday that's this weekend? I'm forgetting.
I'm forgetting that too.
It may just be Passover. Is it what it is? I think it is.
Yeah, it's bad that I know that because I was shopping at B&H and saw where B&H, they take all holidays where they're closed like yesterday through, I think it's Passover.
All right. So for those of our fans out there that are celebrating that, enjoy. Then we will be celebrating Easter next weekend, I think it is, for other
Yep,
people. But enough
Good
about
Friday
celebration.
is next Friday.
Let's talk about some downer stuff, like news. Some Microsoft news, by the way. All of it's not downer news. Some of it is, some of it isn't. We're going to start light and then work our way to something that's a little more depressing. So let's get you the headlines. We're talking about the Xbox Game Showcase 2025. So Microsoft's going to be giving us the info on what's going to be coming out, I guess, later this year as far as gaming is concerned. We got news about ChatGPT offers a new memory functionality in its AI model, so that you could reference old prompts and jump off from different sections when you go back into the prompt section. We'll be talking about Copilot. It's now being able to file search in a more expansive way on Windows. That's we've been talking about that for a while. It's finally here. Copilot is now full part of Bing Search. I remember they for a minute tried to replace Bing Search with I think it was Bing Chat, and then they decided Copilot. Now they're bringing it back. We've done an Ouroboros of weird naming and functionality with this thing, but I think it's finally the spot that makes sense for everybody, and we'll walk you guys through all of that. We'll be talking about Clipchamp offers a new template platform to help people get a little more creative. Then we'll be talking about the let's see, Pixel. I think Google Pixel hardware division will be laying off a ton of people. That's what I meant about the depressing section. But in the context of tech and Microsoft in general, this could be a harbinger for things to come, with other companies following suit, laying off large swaths of people for various reasons. But we'll get into those in a section. In a second, let my host take on it from here. What are you going to jump into first?
Well, I'm going to try to start us out on a good note here because we know we got some depressing stuff coming. And you guys know that I love my video games. Even at 46, almost 47 years old, I still game like I did when I was 20, 25, and so forth. So Xbox is going to talk to us some more this year about some what's coming up in gaming, and we're going to have the Xbox Game Showcase 2025. That is on Saturday, June the 8th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Do keep in mind that we do have, if you remember last year, no, it was year before last, they did the Starfield Direct where they really dug into what Starfield was going to be and told us what Starfield was, when Starfield was coming, and did a whole separate show on Starfield. This year, we're learning about the Outer Worlds 2. So keep in mind when you watch this show to stay tuned in for Microsoft's deep dive into Outer Worlds 2 that's coming later this year. So everybody should be excited about that. We've got it in over 40 outlets, 40 languages, and even this time American Sign Language, which is cool. You can visit our site for the links, but to give people some idea, you can catch it on the Xbox YouTube channel, the Xbox channel on Twitch. You can also catch it on facebook.com/Xbox. We will be covering this on the site. You can always go check us out at microsoftunboxed.com, and we will have the recap of everything announced.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'm
Me too.
actually, yeah, I've just downloaded. Oh my god, what is the newest game? The Midnight game. Give me a second, Logan. It just came out this week, earlier this week. Xbox.
I can see the box art, but I can't come up with the game title.
South of Midnight. Sorry, maybe
Yeah.
short pause, but yes, I just downloaded that. So it took me a second to download, so I haven't actually started playing it yet. I fell asleep last night. I was downloading and then watching, catching up on Daredevil. Once Daredevil was over, I passed out. So I look forward to playing that. But if I'm sure they're going to recap some of that gameplay at the event, but they're also probably going to be talking about something new that I could be playing this time next year. So that's why I'm looking forward to the showcase. They've always delivered when it comes to trailers and when it comes to games, they're starting to get their footing as far as delivering one, two, three good games a year. I know Indiana Jones did really well last year, towards the end of last year and beginning of this year. So hopefully they can keep the momentum going in. We know that relatively speaking, the console isn't doing as well, but as long as the games are doing well, then Xbox Game Pass lives on. I'm sure we'll be seeing some talk about uh, probably new games and partnerships that will be happening with the Switch, because the Switch was just officially revealed last week, or yeah, last week I think it was when we didn't have a pod, but that'll be the next platform that they'll probably want to champion as far as the Xbox games and Game Pass being available on that, since they don't have a console themselves. So those are the kind of things to hopefully anticipate for this event.
Well, I just want to throw something out there. You bring up a good point with the hardware. So we know the hardware sales for Xbox haven't been all that great, but I have really paid attention since we started doing the at the end of the pod where we talk about what we're doing for the weekend. I've really started paying closer attention to my own habits, and I'm starting to find myself staying in the Xbox ecosystem, which is good for Xbox because I'm playing their titles. But I'm finding myself, when I sit down with a tablet, when I sit down at my PC, my gaming PC, I find myself opening that Xbox app and I'm going to that Game Pass subscription and I'm able to, like you just mentioned there, find something, that fits my mood, whether it's Call of Duty, run and gun, or I found myself last night playing Flight Simulator for 45 minutes, and it was just, I don't know. I'm getting to the point where the Xbox console is over there and I use it, but I hate to say it, I don't necessarily need it, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, and this is by design, so we'll see if this is a good design or bad design in the coming years. But next, we'll be talking about. Make sure we get our banners up. Um, Personalized AI. This is in the vein of ChatGPT's new memory feature, basically. Before we jump onto that, I wanted to see if you wanted to take a quick second, because I know you had the picture in here and I just threw it in for those who are listening. You talked about the free play days, the two games
Yes,
that are coming out.
we have a couple of free play days. That is Crime Boss and moving out too look kind of corny, but
Oh, it is fun. Me
I,
and my girls play that all
but
the time.
but when I started reading about it, I'm like, I think I'm gonna have to try this weekend.
I'd recommend it.
Where you're actually like a moving group of people moving people, and I'm like, all these simulator type games. We've got farming simulator. We talked about there was a simulator we talked about a couple weeks ago in the free play days. The detective
Hmm.
one. What I don't remember the name of it. We had a detective one up a couple weeks ago.
Oh
Well, now
yeah,
we've got moving out to and crime boss. And let me remind people, because I fell down this rabbit hole 2 or 3 weeks ago. Um, when you play these free play titles, they're under your subscriptions in your dashboard. If you slide down to free play days, both titles are there listed, ready for you to download. Here's the thing: make sure if you like one, you get that purchase made by Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, because they have always put some type of discount for you to own the free play title games during the time of the um, free playing. Now you are playing us a YouTube video of the moving out simulator. Is that what that is?
That is correct. For those who are just listening, just showing the trailer. If you guys want to head to YouTube, the studio's got its trailer up. But it is a fun game. Like I had mentioned, me and my girls play it all the time because it's very straightforward. You get to pick up a character and you basically just move things around as a mover, and the levels become increasingly difficult about where you need to move stuff, how you need to move stuff, the timing in which you need to move things. So if you're just into kind of a free
Interesting.
flowing, uh, I wouldn't just Roblox esque kind of thing, but the artwork is much better. It's kind of like a Mario kind of artwork. If you're looking for something like that, you have different levels. You can move anything from a whole farm. So if you're moving chickens, cows, to moving people's TVs and whole living room sets and stuff like that. You can move stuff off of boats. It's a really cool, fun game.
Do I have
And
to
like,
pay for things when I break them?
yes, you actually do. There's a meter for that kind of stuff. So, like I said, I would recommend playing that if you this weekend if you guys get a chance. So, I'm glad we talked about it because I totally forgot about that game.
I'm gonna check that one out. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
and for those of you who aren't on Xbox, you can get on the Switch, I think, as well, which is another good place to play it. Um, Moving on, like I said, we're going to be talking about ChatGPT and its new memory function. I think it was announced on the 10th. So, April 10th, ChatGPT came out and kind of talked about something I think we talked about 2 weeks ago, right? Wasn't it? When we talked about Copilot getting a very similar feature.
mhm.
The way
We
ChatGPT,
did.
yeah, the way ChatGPT mentions it is that memory in ChatGPT is now more comprehensive. In addition to the saved memories that there were before, it now references all your past conversations, deliver responses that feel more relevant and tailored to you. This means memory now works in two ways: quote saves memories you've asked it to remember, and chat history, which are insights ChatGPT gathers from past chats to improve future ones. They want to make sure that you know that you are in control of ChatGPT's memory, so you can turn off referencing saved memories or chat history. So if you don't want it to, memorize any of the dumb prompts that you give it, or you don't want other people to reference any of the dumb prompts you've given it, you can turn that off. The more you use ChatGPT, obviously, the more useful it becomes. That's their whole pitch for it. New conversations build upon what is already known about, other prompts that you asked, which makes referencing things a little smoother and allows you to talk in more natural language to these services, which I think has always been kind of the goal for chat assistants or AI. This is, I think, partly why Siri and Cortana and Google never took off in the way that it was always marketed or advertised. Is because you couldn't talk to it in a certain way. You couldn't be like, you know, hey, remember when we talked about this? Let's continue talking about that. It was always like, all right, let's start from scratch. And I have to do all of this, referencing and historical referencing and stuff like that in order to get you to where I need you to go. And it was just too much work at that point. You just want to jump straight into what it is you need from the service. So this could be that bridge that we were all hoping for with the chat assistants the first go around. I think like 10 years ago. What are your thoughts?
They're becoming more human esque in their way of interacting. And if you remember, Google announced a similar feature for Google Gemini a couple of weeks ago. And I have noticed I reference Gemini mainly on my phone because guess what? It's a one button push and Gemini's down there at the bottom. So I find myself using Gemini on my phone and Copilot on my PCs. So that gives me a chance also to check out, what each one offers. And I've noticed that Gemini has picked up some of these memory features. Like I can ask it something and it'll say, "Oh, you meant when we talked about," and it will kind of recap, what it remembers, and you can ask it a question and somewhat continue your discussion or direct it, differently, for something else in that topic. So I agree. This is kind of where all of our other voice to speech assistants have kind of failed. It's kind of a one shot deal. Tell me what you want, move on to the next discussion. So, next iteration, let's see if people start picking it up. Like I have mentioned on many podcasts before, we've got to find what clicks with these, what clicks to bring, open the coffers for the money. Hey, I need this feature, or hey, this is, I cook every day and it remembers that we talked about recipes yesterday. Okay, that's cool. It saves me 5 minutes. I'll pay for Copilot or ChatGPT or your AI of choice. But I think it's pretty neat. Next evolution, next
Yeah.
group of features.
Well, I mean, we're talking about it from a audible aspect of it, but I mean, just in general, digital assistants being able to reference this when you type a search in or text something in has also been kind of the barrier for a lot of people. Because again, when you're doing a search, a lot of our searches are historically referenced. Like we will go back, be it our lack of uh, work exercising our short-term memory like we used to back in the day because we had to memorize stuff. There'll be plenty of times where you're like, hey, you look up an actor, an actress, or whatever, and you get the information, you move on. 6 months down the road, you see that person again. You're like, what were they in again? And you can go back to your chat assistant or what are your digital assistant, and they have that reference for you, or you build upon it. Like, hey, I remember seeing them in this movie. They're now in this movie, or they're now, advocating for this thing. So I saw them in a movie, saw them in a show. Now I'm seeing them advocating for something else. And there's a connection that you start to build on. Or if you're learning about something, say you're learning about the Writers Guild, and you want to learn more about unionization, it starts to build upon that versus you have to do two, three, four, five separate searches and then tying them all in by yourself if you need to do something like that. So this could be great for research. This could be huge for anybody who's using it for academia or school or anything like that to kind of help coalesce a lot of that stuff. It's going to be death of the notepad, like physical notepads, and people won't need to make those links or adjustments. But hey, uh, we do sacrifice for the future, I suppose. The next thing,
We will, as long as the investors will fund it.
very good point. We might circle back to that one. Next, we got Copilot now looking up files on Windows. What do you got to say about that?
Well, you know, for me, this feels a little different. And this was where my brain was the whole time I was writing this up. It seems like Microsoft has found a different way to use Copilot because let's think about it. Microsoft has a complete operating system there to work with. They have a complete ecosystem with Office 365 to work with. And for the Windows insiders, that's kind of what you're going to start seeing. You're going to see these Copilot bits pop out in the insiders channel where Windows can tell you a little bit more about your PC, the apps you're running in with your PC, be able to interact with some of those apps, and most importantly, be able to actually look through your files, which for some people I understand can be scary as well. But we have specific file types that for now Copilot knows about. We have the doc, we have the Excel spreadsheet, we have text files, JSON files, and probably a very important one, PDFs. So when this hits out of the insider channel, you should be able to ask Copilot to find a document, look for it, and then summarize for you in a window what is inside that document. So, for example, it's tax time. If you haven't got your taxes in yet, you got 4 days to get that done. Um, if you got your stuff in PDFs, you could ask it to possibly find your expenses for your business dinners in 2024. And it would be able to open that spreadsheet, assuming it's in a spreadsheet. You would be able to open that spreadsheet and it would search through and return you the results of what your dinners were in 2024. So we're slowly replacing the PC search here. And I'm a fan of what's going on here because PC search has always been kind of lateral for me. You search something, you see files, and we have to dig inside those files to find the information we're looking for. And if you have multiple files that could be the same, and you're not sure which file that's in, you spend that time opening those files to find what you're looking for. I'm hoping when this hits my PC on the Windows Insider builds that I can ask it questions. It will pull up documents, it will pull up what I need, and start creating a make my entire PC searchable. That's what I'm trying to say, to where it can look inside documents, tell me what's there. As long as we're safe and secure about it, I'm cool with it being there. I think it's a good feature.
Yeah, I was thinking too. My mind's just jumping all over the place as you're talking. What happens when we start to implement ChatGPT's new memory functions applied to file search?
Good
So
point.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you played around with or at least noticed in File Explorer. It does this sort of thing kind of already, where if you
Hmm.
search a certain file or folder over and over, it will put it in the quick access.
I have noticed that.
Uh,
Yes.
and so what I end up doing is if I somehow remember that it shows up in the quick access, I just pin it to quick access for the time being. It may be a day, maybe a week, it may be a month, it may even be a year, and then eventually I'll get rid of it when I stop using it. But I wonder if that starts to expand when it comes to the historical searches. So if you were searching for a particular file from a year, does Copilot now start to say, all right, well, he's looking for information from this year. Let's start presenting him all the information that's related to, that word search for this year. And for, if he's looking in Excel files, Excel documents, or does it start to just expand and spread out and start looking for Word documents that are tied to it that were made the same day from people, or maybe just to say, hey, these are the same people that were on a lot of these docs all together. Let's group that together in a search for him. Maybe he's just looking for all that information, like you said, tax time. So if you put your student loans in a folder, and you put your W-2s in a folder, and you put your mortgage payments and your refinancing loans and your agreements like that all in a folder, to start putting that away. The second you start looking for W-2s, does it now say, all right, here's all your tax stuff? And then at that point, would you like me to put them all in PDF form so that you can email them? And in an email, you just have one sentence that I can write saying, hey, here's to my tax guy or tax lady, or to TurboTax, here's the documents I need to send off. Does it start to become that quick at learning? So hopefully we start to see that stuff kind of formulate soon.
Okay. Let see, you made my mind go a different place. All right. We got recall over here. So does it? Yeah.
That's right.
So does this tinker in with recall? Now that would be something I would love to see, where maybe it could not only do this inside
Grab your
recall,
screenshots.
but recognize documents that I had open and incorporate that in.
Ooh, now we're cooking. I mean, these are all patent pending. Microsoft, I'm stealing from us. If you want to, you can come talk to David and I. We can give you some of these for a certain fee, and it's negotiable. Negotiable.
Yeah, it's like a tariff. It's negotiable.
Until they're not, and then they are again. Speaking of which, let's get into Copilot in search and what people probably were searching all of this week. What is a tariff and how does a tariff work? Well, fortunately, Copilot's going to be able to help you guys out in a more adept way, because Copilot is now back in Bing search. And for those of you scratching your head going, what does that mean? I did the same thing. I talked at the top of this pod about how we started off with what eventually became Copilot as Bing Chat. Bing Chat was the first iteration of Microsoft's AI model. They threw it in there and they didn't know really what to do with it, but it was this enhanced version of Bing Search. Then they realized they needed to take that out because Bing branding has been so tarnished that it was dragging down all of their AI prospects. They renamed it to Copilot, put it in the Windows ecosystem, put it on the desktop, and they have worked on it since then. They've toiled on it. They are now reintroducing it back, a new advanced version of search into Bing, but they're calling it Copilot Search to make sure that the two brands shall never join, but still are useful. So we're kind of back to square one, but with about two different models that have been borrowed from ChatGPT to kind of enhance it. What we get basically out of this is curated answers, which now they can provide concise answers and summaries and smart layouts. You get a little more transparency out of the search. Includes prominently cited sources for easy validation and further exploration. So you get like the little footnotes that you can click into that'll take you to websites that that's gathering information from. You get a guided exploration, offer suggestions for related topics, making discovery a little easier without losing context, and mobile accessibility because these are all not going to be part of on mobile devices, including the Bing app. And I guess if you use Edge as your default browser, you can put it as like your just default search engine. Uh, Now, Google Gemini did this. I want to say a few weeks ago, probably like, almost closer to like about a month ago. They started putting their expanded search of Gemini into Google search. So, for those of you who are probably wondering what that little new box is at the top when you search for things, that's what you'll be getting in Copilot going forward. You can also start to do some small text to image prompts as well with this. Now you're limited to the credit you have and things like that. And it's all based off your Microsoft account, but you're starting to see a little bit more Copilot, at least in the consumer version that isn't tied to Windows. So again, if you're on uh, a Mac, if you're using Chrome OS, if you're on an Android device, you can start to get Copilot search. What are your thoughts on them coming full circle with this?
Good idea. I think we've realized that in order for this Copilot thing to work, in order for any of this AI to work, you've got to get it in front of people. You've got to get it where they use it. You've got to give them options on how to use it. And I have said it each week, I think, now for the last 6 months. I pound those Copilot prompts and those Gemini prompts every day. And I find myself going through the very workflow that you just mentioned, searching something, getting that AI result, no matter which search engine I'm using, and then typing my next question in that box with the AI result and getting myself another AI answer or getting pushed to the AI screen to begin with, kind of like what you're showing here, where they push you off of searching and more of the conversational AI prompts. So, way to go, Microsoft. I wish you had done this sooner. But now we do have another place of competition for Google and Copilot. So, does this help people go use Edge more? It could. I know I can't do image generation yet in the Gemini prompts when searching something in Google. So, you know, who gets the best features and what do you want to use? Microsoft is slowly catching up to the party, I think.
Yeah, it's to your point. It's very interesting that if you have any historical reference for Bing search, I've always preferred Bing search because of its layout. It is more engaging to me. It is visually more appealing because you do get more visual references to the things you're searching if they're available. So if you're searching about people, places, or things, you'll get images and things that are linked off to its Wikipedia or whatever. You'll also get the social media associated with it, kind of close in proximity to the top quadrant of the page. Google didn't do that, and they're not really doing it with Gemini. Now, Gemini, who know, it is part of Google, so you'll probably get better you'll get more accurate search information. Not to say that Bing isn't very good, but just they've had the trillions of user data and inputs to give it a better contextual knowledge base. But just like we were mentioning with Gemini, it's going to just be that text box at the top. There are no visuals. So if you're looking at, like I said, if you're looking at people, places, or things in particular, so say you're looking up a new Samsung refrigerator or something like that, and you want to see visually the difference between each version of the Samsung refrigerator, you're not going to get that with the Google search. You'll get context, you'll get text images about it, but with the Bing one, or sorry, Copilot search in Bing, you will get some visual references to be able to click off to immediately in that square little box at the top. So, I think it just comes down to your preference at this point. But hopefully, we'll see if Microsoft can get some telemetry from that and make it a worthwhile investment in keeping that going versus taking it out. waiting for it and then putting it back in.
I want to make one comment. We've done two stories now about Copilot and AI. Apple, where are you?
Kicking a dog while it's down. So unnecessary. Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness. Totally unnecessary. Apple
but
Intelligence
accurate.
is very accurate. Yes, they've drifted from the conversation the same way that the what was it, the Vision Pro has drifted from the conversation. Maybe it'll come back around, and who knows? This is Apple. They have the money and the will to make this thing popular. But
wait. After this week's stock market and where we're going, do they really have the money?
first of all, that's number two. You get a third one, you're out of here. Jeez. No, you're right. You're right. They're going to need to make some decisions, and we'll talk about them as we wrap this pod up. I'm going to let you get into one last story before we get to our final one, and it's about clip chat. It's something that we are starting to talk more and more about these days.
Yeah, and actually, you kind of got me back into Clip Champ. It's been 2 or 3 pods ago, but you had mentioned you covered a Clip Champ story and told me I needed to check it out. So I've been paying attention to Clip Champ. And
Yeah.
if you're a small business or somebody with a blog, even or somebody with a YouTube or TikTok that you have, you want to keep your looks the same, you want to keep your branding the same, you can now do that with ClickChamp, and it'll save everything in the cloud. It will. They're calling it templates. They're called project templates. You can save your templates, and you can be able to pull those templates up in any video that you're creating. For example, say you have a background that fits your YouTube page branding. That's what I'm going to use. Say you have a background that fits your YouTube page branding. You can save that. Or if you're a Twitch streamer, for example, that has the box and you've got a certain outline around the box and it fits your branding or it fits somebody's product that you may be endorsing on your stream, you can save all that and be able to access it quickly in your videos and in your creations and not have to recreate it, which is cool. For me, this kind of follows the Adobe Firefly way. If you are an Adobe user out there, you can also now save what they call projects. And you can have various projects to where you can save. Say you've got something for business, you can save all your templates in there. Say you've got your personal channels, you can save all your templates in there. So it's nice to see Clipchamp and Microsoft catching up to these things. Now, what we were talking about off mic, which would probably have to be under some kind of subscription model, is can we get like a AI integrated service to where you can manipulate your templates and use your templates using AI. Now, again, Clipchamp, I believe, is free on most new PCs. The basic Clipchamp is installed, and I think there is a subscription level to get some of the green screen backgrounds, etc. But you can get that included with your 365 subscription. So I understand when you're talking about adding AI to this, you're talking about possibly increasing cost, but it is another avenue for creators and it is another avenue for Microsoft to compete because there's Adobe, there's Canva. Canva has been big in this AI area for the last few months, and now we've got Clipchamp. So it's not all top tier, top budget stuff. It's nice to see Clipchamp in here just taking care of your daily needs. You brand your YouTube channel, your TikTok, everything's saved in a template in the cloud. You pull those templates down, you make your next video, and you carry on. I think it's a cool feature.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is interesting. I'm calling it the new wave of development for Microsoft Inbox apps because we've been seeing Microsoft Paint get a very similar glow up as far as features are concerned. That makes it a little more on par with Photoshop or at least a Canva of sorts. And so Clipchamp's doing the same thing. And for all intents and purposes, this is the Microsoft Movie Maker, just with under a different name now. And it's good to see that it's moved beyond what Movie Maker was, and how it's trying to keep up with the paid subscription versions or the more expensive studio things of like Adobe, DaVinci Resolve or Filmora of for people like that. So if you're buying a new PC and you're saying, hey, these new Copilot PCs are more expensive, this is some of the stuff that you're trying to get with it and to start justifying some of that raised cost. And it's kind of what Apple has been doing, where they bake in iMovie and a year's subscription to Final Cut and GarageBand and iPhoto and all these things, and they work really well. People don't mind paying it. I think finally Microsoft started to figure that out. Like, hey, if we can offer them value, they will pay for it, and this will help everyone in the long run. It helps Microsoft out. It helps its partners out, like allows Dell and Lenovo and HP and the rest of them to kind of justify their costs, and it starts to pushing more of the technology forward, saying, "Hey, if you allow us to charge a little bit more, we can start putting a little more technology in it to make sure that we can charge you more for it." And it's just kind of, I mean, granted, it can get to an absurd cycle where it's you're like, "Hey, I don't need all this stuff, and I don't need to pay that much," but if you are at least looking at it holistically, this is how we start to get better features out of stuff like this. So I'm all for it. It's even better, I can say right now, because it's free. I suggest people go try it out, especially if you are a content creator, and see what you can make with this, what you can do with what little you can do with it, and then and offer feedback to say, hey, can you start adding these things? And we'll see if Microsoft responds. It seems like they are at least interested in making Clipchamp still work. This isn't like, so far, it isn't like Skype where they got it and they're gonna let it do its own thing and then kind of die on the vine. They're, at least so far in the first 2 years of ownership of this, being good stewards. I appreciate
Poor Skype. Poor Skype.
that. All right, I'll give myself a flag. 1-2. You got 2, I got 1. We're gonna shut this podcast down if one of it gets 3. How about that?
All right.
But here's our last story. I'm sure you got something to say about this one. We got Google laying off hundreds of employees, at least in their platform divisions section, which is the part of Google that a lot of us like. That's that Pixel phone, Pixel tablet, the Nest speakers and thermostats and whatnot, and
Stadia.
obviously Stadia. That's it. Podcast is getting shut down. That's number 3. Get out of. You're out of here. Jeez.
I
What
heard
you
it.
did. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to remove this guy. Is there any way to shut him down? According to the story, there we go. Just me. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. David's gone. It's just me today. The rest of the pod. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, according to the stories, Google's laying off hundreds of employees. There's going to be a leadership shift. The layoffs follow last year's decision to consolidate Android and Chrome. Teams under Rick Osterloh, Senior VP of Platform Devices. Division will now include all together Android, Google Play, Chrome, Pixel, Nest, and Fitbit products. Fitbit's still a thing in their portfolio. They were offering people, I believe, in January, voluntary buyouts to employees earlier this year, which again, everyone kind of saw as an indication that they are getting ready to, force people out. They were saying, "Hey, if you want to leave, you're more than welcome to, and here's, the rest of your severance for the year or however long your contract was for." But it looks like they're getting ready to say, "All right, now we've been nice. Now we're going to be kind of mean." Google spokesperson stated that the layoffs aim to make the division more nimble and effective following the team's consolidation. The reason why I wanted to talk about this, not, obviously on this podcast, we don't gloat, we don't find it entertaining to talk about layoffs. I sympathize and empathize with anybody losing their job. I just want to say that I also just wanted to know that we could see this happening across the industry, particularly in Microsoft. I think they're hinting at another mass layoff pretty soon. And, David and I were talking off mic about when that could happen. Now, for those of you who are just now joining us or joining the industry in general, Microsoft tends to do a big shedding of jobs right around late June, early July, right before they have to do right before or after the quarterly earnings for the thing for the year. They tend to shed a bunch of jobs in the summer. So I'm wondering, with the way the rumors are going, if they're going to be doing this mass layoff before then and then another one in June, or will they roll this in uh, going forward. Also, I just wanted to get David's thoughts on what does this say about Google's hardware division. Everyone's been talking about how great the Pixels are. They love the phones. That yeah, I think AT&T said they're seeing more devices being sold. But if they're having to cut people, is that typically a bad sign?
It's concerning. I'm not going to say it's over because I know you just covered a story this week of the new Pixel. Make sure I get
Nine,
the right phone, the
9A.
9A.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 9A. So we know they have recently made hardware. Now, does it spell bad for the? We know the Pixel Tablet 2 has been canned, unfortunately. We haven't heard about a new Pixel Watch. We haven't heard about new Pixel Buds, and we know that Apple recently added the new codecs to their buds and their headphones to make them better for professional recording. I believe I put up a post about that a couple of weeks ago. So it's concerning of what Google's doing here. They've always made what I thought were good consumer devices a good alternative to Apple. So, they killed the Pixel book several years ago and they've not made, any other Chromebook items. So I'm concerned, to say the least. Is it the end of the tablet, or are they just going to make the phone, the watch, and the buds, or are they just going to make the phone, or are they just not going to make any of it? I don't think they'll can it all, but I would say anything's up in the air, and I don't want to see any of it go away. I like to see competition. I like to see competition with Samsung, with Apple. That's what makes it better for you and I on the shelf. Is when people are competing and you have different options.
No, definitely. I'm also concerned, probably to a lesser extent, because we were concerned about Microsoft when they had laid off a bunch of people from the Surface device, from their hardware division in general. They
That's
got rid
true.
of basically everyone from HoloLens and a fifth of their Surface employees. Now, what that resulted in was quote unquote a more boring version of the Surface device, but they're still putting them out. They trimmed down the Surface lineup, so we stopped doing headphones and the Surface Duo and a bunch of other offshoot devices that I love to play with. But they got back to the core basics, which is the Surface Laptop and the Surface Pro, and they've been iterating on those at least for the last year and a half since the layoffs. Uh, so I can see this sort of working the same way with the Pixels, that they pare down some of the stuff. Maybe they'll still stick to the watch. Maybe the design of the watch and the design of the phones don't change over the next couple of years as they kind of just hone in on software and services, which may not need a lot of people for that. The R&D budget's probably been tapered a little bit, but and who knows? This may be more concerning for the Pixel Fold because people are still buying the slab devices and they can still sell those and justify the cost for that. I don't know going forward how a lot of these foldables are going to do because they're already pushing $1,800 and not a lot of people are
True.
buying them. If you start adding some of the stuff with the tariffs going on, at least for the next few months to a year or so, just to get the R&D to import these pieces that need to go in these devices to test them, study them before you make it a solid project, may be too much for people. And they may just say, you know what, foldables, they didn't take it off like we wanted them to. The runway was too short now or has been shortened because of this stuff. They will circle back in this in a few years, but we're not going to be doing it. So maybe the Pixel Fold 3 or whatever, maybe the last version, because I'm sure they've been working on this for a couple of years. But now with this pared down version, that gets pared down. Maybe the Nest devices start to consolidate and they don't have as many under that brand. Perhaps Fitbit goes away altogether and they just say, hey, the Pixel Watch is where it's at. Uh, or maybe they combine the two and say, all right, you have a Pixel Watch and a Pixel Band. I don't know. Make their lives a little bit easier. They don't have to support the Fitbit software. Just move it all to Google Fit. I don't know, but I mean, I think the hardware division will still make hardware. We'll still have stuff to play with, but I think it would be in more limited capacity going forward.
You're probably right, unfortunately, which, I noticed something when Samsung had their last event. Did you notice when they had the S25 event that they talked more about Google integration than they
Mhm.
had ever? I mean, you and I even mentioned it when we were chatting, I think, that they were talking more about Google integration than they ever had. The reason I bring that up is that what Google wants to do. Do they want to pull a Microsoft and go, well, we'll make a Pixel, just a plain Google phone? Maybe they make what they've always done, the 9A, the 9B, the 9C, the 10A, the 10A, whatever models they want to put on it. But we've got Gemini over here. We've got these software services that we know are going to make us money. So we want to kind of back off the hardware, make one phone, maybe make one watch or two phones in one watch. Pick your screen size, and then you can use our software on Samsung. See, we're over here, we're integrating, we're playing nice. Gemini is on Samsung, it's integrated. Samsung AI has kind of took a back seat. We've not really heard much about Samsung AI lately, and December has come and gone. The S24 was supposed to, had that little note down there at the bottom, free for 1 year. Well, December's come and gone for last year. I never saw anything that say, hey, if you're still using these Samsung AI features, it's going to be X amount of dollars a month. So maybe that's part of Google's plan is we've got all these software stuff here. We're going to back off the hardware, which is not what makes you and I happy necessarily, but that may be what they're looking to do.
Well, yeah, we also got to remember that I believe Samsung licenses the Gemini model. So Samsung made its own AI. Who knows how effective that thing was. They can license Gemini, which is the only thing I think they. I mean, aside from maybe paying or getting money from Google to be the default search, this is the only other exchange of money I think that you have when it comes to the Android ecosystem, which is what Google wants. They don't charge for Android, but all the services, to your point, is what they can do. And now that more people are going to be using AI, or at least they hope so, they are pulling windows. They're saying, we're not going to charge you for Android, but we will charge you for Google AI, the use of Google AI, and Google AI will be at the center of everything. They get a discount for it, but this is a way to maintain their dominance in smartphones and across desktops and things like that going forward. So yeah, I think to your point, they are probably pulling a Microsoft, saying hardware isn't. We're never going to crack or beat Samsung when it comes to that, or Apple in this market. Uh, I think it's already been kind of decided who the two big are, at least in the North American market. In Europe and other places like that, they have a lot more choice, which I think they're competing even further for. I mean, Huawei is doing gangbusters, and OnePlus is doing really well. And I forget what their sister division is that they sell stuff out of as well. Uh, they're all doing great in Europe and things like that, which makes selling a Google device even harder out there. So I think they're just saying like, hey, things are going to get tight for a while. Smartphones have kind of hit their plateau. Let's start trimming that stuff down, and let's to their point, be a little more leaner, which again means fewer experiments, but easier ways to kind of pivot towards business goals. Unfortunately, so if the goal is
Well,
to get
I was going to say, let me ask you a question. You brought up, and I'd like your opinion on this. You brought up a good point. I have thought for years that we had reached somewhat of a plateau in smartphones, and then foldables came out, and that kind of opened up a new avenue. And we're on what, the Z Fold 6. We've had 6 generations of Z Fold. We've had generations of the Z Flip. So we're folding from left to right. We're folding from top to bottom, pretty much. And, we don't see 4K screens very much on phones. So there's still some room for improvement there. And I'm sure if we go down this rabbit hole too far, we can find all kinds of things that we can improve on. We can, make things more powerful. We can make things more PC like, et cetera, et cetera. But have we reached a point with these companies, whether you're Apple or whether you're Google or whether you're Samsung, that we have reached a plateau of where we're going to stay for a while, and these companies are looking at software? Google says, hey, we make our money with software. Samsung, they're still going to keep producing hardware. They introduced the flip phones and the foldables. I give them credit for that. Apple is eventually going to throw their hat into the flip phones in the foldable market. But for Google, I think it's more okay, we've plateaued out on hardware design for a while. Come license our software, come use our software. We make it easy for OnePlus to license it. And as you mentioned, the other companies to license it. Say, look, when something else interesting comes out with phones, you'll see the new Pixel, whatever it needs to be. Okay, we'll make a few more phones, see if it kicks off, rinse and repeat. And I think we're just in that plateau cycle because Apple is going to throw the foldable out there. It may be a $2,500 device though. So, you know, are your wallets willing to go that far? And I think that may be what Google's seeing. Okay, we can make foldables, but we can't make foldables at the typical 9.99, 7.99, 11.99, 12.99 tops. We've got to be closer to 2 grand. So what technology comes out that reduces the cost of that foldable? Or maybe they looked at sales numbers and go, okay, we're making foldables, but people don't want them. That could be. So for Google, I think it's smart in that way. Okay, play in what you know, software.
Yeah, no, definitely. Especially, I mean, again, we're singling Google out because of the headlines, but expect to see this from Microsoft soon, Apple as
Mhm.
well. Intel, IBM, the rest of them are trying to start laying off people, and hardware is the fastest way to, or the clearest way to see your revenues than it is software. Software is a little more integrated, it's multi-layered, and it's also has the greatest returns. Hardware is razor thin, which is why when we talk about these topics more often than not, it's usually the hardware divisions that get cut first. So again, if you're in the consoles, you're getting cut first. If you're in phones, you're getting cut first. If you're in, you exclusively in headphones, you're getting cut first because again, hardware has a very definitive revenue lineup that people can see and be like, hey, if it costs us this much to make, we're not producing this, and there is no long tail to it. Like, all right, well, if we provide these services over a long period of time as a subscription, this is how much profit we get and how much revenue we can generate. Hardware is like, hey, we made the thing. This is how much it cost us, and we're not getting it back. So cut it. So Google's first. Be prepared to hear some more about these stories. Unfortunately, we're into the what are we doing section. What are we doing this weekend, my friend?
You know, this weekend the weather's supposed to be reasonable here in North Carolina. I'm gonna try to get out and, as we say at the end, touch a little grass. But it's not daylight all day, so I'm gonna come on in and probably fire up some video games. I'm kind of feeling a little racing simulator this weekend, and I'm definitely going to try out the move out game that you just mentioned. I
I
might
think
see.
I think you will love it. If you get your niece going, I think she's going to
Yeah,
enjoy it as well, or even your dad. Maybe he
I,
might enjoy it. It's very easy to pick up.
I think
No
I'm gonna
pun
see
intended.
she wants to get involved in that and see what we can find. I've got a review to finish up on a think book over here this weekend. I've got all my notes, and I'll have that out for you guys next week. So that's coming up. What about you? I know you've got 2 young kids, keep you busy, and you've been out of town. You mentioned last week your wife had been out of town. So is everybody in town, or are you just bachelor padding
Eh,
it this weekend again?
No, no, everyone's in town. We're all busy. I have to drive my youngest up for she has an audition thing that she's got to go to, and then the girls have soccer on Sunday. But I am around. I will be. I played Marvel Rivals last weekend, preparing for the Emma Frost update that they're supposed to be doing, like the whole new season part. I don't know if she's dropped yet, so I'm gonna look around for that this tonight or tomorrow. See if she has. If not, then I will probably be playing. What else am I doing on the Switch? Oh, it's surprised some more NBA 2K. Finishing up my college basketball season on there because they've added that addition pack to it. And The Sims. I've gotten back into The Sims on PC.
The Sims.
Yeah, so I've been doing that. I've also been streaming it to my my uh, tablet PC that I use next to my bed at night. So I'm back in The Sims. My guy is a bachelor who is a developer, and he's very depressed. So I got to figure out I bought him a backyard grill. Doesn't seem to be entertaining him at all. So I got to figure out a way. Maybe he's going to start going to the gym. Who knows? But I got to get my sim happy again. So that's what I'll be playing. As far as what I'll be watching, like I said, I caught up on Daredevil. My wife and I have been watching the show Adolescence. I think people have been raving about it. It's very interesting. Just kind of plot synopsis is that a kid was hauled into, this is a UK show, British show, hauled into jail for alleged murder of another kid in the school, and now they're doing this whole interview interrogation of him, and he's explaining some stuff. It's very thought provoking if you're into something like that. If you're into more laughs or something, Killing It on Peacock, which is finished season 2 just recently. That's a good show if you want to learn about Florida, and Craig Robinson from The Office is in it. It's hilarious. And if you just want action, Reacher, season 2, very good. I'd recommend that one.
I forgot about Reacher.
Reacher's back. The whole thing's on Amazon Prime, so I suggest everyone go out and watch that. If people want to talk to you about what your plans or hang out with you, where can they find you?
Blue Sky. Blue Sky has become a pretty neat place. The bots over on Blue Sky, at least so far, have not been as overtaking as they are on other platforms. So David PAJ1978 over on Blue Sky, jump over there and say hello if you've got something you want to play. And I have it. I'll jump in and play just about anything. So
That's
feel
good.
free.
Oh, I don't know why I said NBA 2K. You know what? I'm an idiot. I got to finish South of Midnight. That's what I was just talking at the beginning of this
Yeah.
game. Dumb
Yeah.
me. I am at Happy Hulk at Blue Sky. Again, I love it over there. It's been fun. Talk politics, I talk games, I talk comics a lot about comics. So if you're interested in those kind of conversations, join me over there. You can find us also in the comment sections on YouTube, at Microsoft Unboxed POD, or Instagram or TikTok or any of the other platforms you're on. We're there. All of them except X as of right now, or Twitter. So to David's point, go touch some grass, enjoy your weekend, enjoy Passover if you're celebrating it. If not, just enjoy the day if you have good weather. If not, stay indoors, eat something really yummy, and we will see you guys next week with more Microsoft news.
Sounds good. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Spreadsheets make my heart sigh. Oh, Microsoft, you light our screen.